Hello, we're back with Game 5 of the Danker Tournament of National High School Champions. And if you saw my previous two videos, I have 2.5 out of 4. Yeah, 2.5 out of 4. So if I win this next game, I'll move to 3.5 out of 5, and that would be the highest score anyone has ever gotten. So that would be very cool. So I'm playing white, and I get paired against a 2200, and this guy's like pretty young. But that doesn't really matter. Let's just jump into the game. So we get the Carol Khan, and if you are somehow like a really big fan of my channel, you'll know that the last time I played against the Carol Khan, I actually lost. So oof. But in that game, my opponent played knight to f6, the Tartar Tower variation. This time he played this thing here. So the line that I play against this, and I feel comfortable sharing my openings because they're really bad anyways. But or they're okay. They're okay. And my idea is just to eat this bishop. And now I have 2 bishops and I'm gonna win. So that's the idea. We get some moves. So I'll play c3 to get like this pawn chain. Because my idea is to play queen f3 and guard this knight and also like develop the queen so I can castle queenside. But if I go queen f3 right now, then he has this check on b4. And after c3 he eats this pawn. Because the pawn is pinned here. So I play c3 just a solid move. And now he's threatening to. Now if I play a move like bishop e3, he can take, and then take this pawn, and then take, and he eats my rook, and he eats a lot of pawns. So we don't like that. So I play queen to f3, defending. Now we get pawn to c5, and actually know that bishop b5 is like the best move because I've looked at this before. So I played it very, very quickly. And my opponent spent some time on c5, so after I responded immediately, he kind of spent more time. So this was kind of like psychological for me, because even though I know that white isn't that much better, it's like very equal. Like, it's kind of scary to look at, because you have this pin and you also have this, you have the double bishop combo, and if you take here, then I actually take on f6, and then I take this, and then I eat this. And then I'm eating this. So it looks kind of scary for black, so my opponent just castles kingside, which is the best move. Now I take, because if I don't take, then there's like takes, and I have to go, I have to castle eventually. I don't want to castle right now because then he can take me, and then like he gets this d5, really good control of the center here. So that's why I take first, and then I castle queenside, which isn't the best move. I should take the pawn first, and then like trade some. Then do stuff, but after I castle, like, you can kick me around and stuff. But knight e5 is actually the best. I expected him to play bishop to e5, which was better because it like puts pressure on this pawn to complement like a attack on the queen side. So my idea was to like maybe put the rook here, but probably I would have just dropped back to like d2, and then he goes b5, and black gets like to attack first. But he moved the knight instead. I dropped the queen back. Now he moves the knight again. He moves like the knight twice, which is kind of suspicious. But he already moved the knight here, and I'm just going to kick it next, or I'm going to start pushing. So he moves the knight back. Now I move the rook back, and I go to d2 to like prevent him from trading the bishop because I kind of like this bishop. And now okay. So now he takes this, but let's just say he didn't. What black would like to do is play queen to a5, attacking the bishop and also hitting this pawn, because usually if you take this pawn, that's pretty good. So, but the problem is the bishop is like attacked. So, you can do this, but I take and then take, and then, like, my idea was just play queen to d2 and play this endgame. Because, like, okay, I want to win, but, like, I thought it was slightly better, and draws, nah, but draws okay. Okay, my opponent takes, which is like really, really shocking, because the only possible idea you could ever have from taking and opening up this file is to eat a pawn. So I was like, oh, he wants to eat a pawn. Interesting. But I thought that after I take, like, I saw this idea sort of, but like I dismissed it immediately because I thought that just opening the file would be just too bad. But he plays queen a5 shortly after. I'm like, okay, what is going on? Obviously I have to play queen g4. And now like, he can take. If he doesn't take, then like I don't really know what he's doing. I'm just going here and here. So he takes. I go here obviously, and now I start calculating because like what are his options? If he checks me, I go here. and then he can't check back because of the queen. So like this is just winning. And if he checks me here, then I just take. If he checks me again, I go to b3, and now I have two threats again. I can't take with the queen because of the rook. Okay, and so he plays f6, and okay, so I thought he was like when I played queen h4, I thought, oh, he wants to play f6, but I thought, wait a minute, I can play rook to d7 and just cut off f7, and now it's checkmate. So I can try to pause the video and see, like, does black have any defense to rook d7? So try to find a defense against rook d7 if there is one. Okay, so if you said check, then good job, that's the first move. So if the king goes here, then you just take, and then you eventually just keep checking the king. The critical line is if the king goes here, because you cannot check back because of the queen. Also, your queen's attacked. So you have like two options. You can check here or here. You have to make a check because I'm threatening a checkmate. If you check here, then the idea is if the pawn takes, it opens up the king. If the queen takes, you take the rook. And if the rook takes, oh, well then, oops. I can take with the rook. But if you go to b4, that's really interesting because if I go here, you take, and that's like a lot of checks. If I take with the queen, then you take the rook. If I take with the pawn, then it like blocks off the queen. So the queen actually picks the rook up like this. And now the king gets to hide on f7 after you eat the rook. And if the king moves here, then check, only move, and then check. And then the king has two spots to go to. If the king goes here, you just check. And then once the king steps on the c-file, you get a check. And then if you go too far, you get a check. Well, no, you get a check, and you get checkmated here. And if you go here, then the rook comes down and eats the queen. And if the king runs to here, then the rook comes over immediately. If you try to run over here, check. This leads to a checkmate on the side of the board. And if you go here again, you get the check. So, oof. You cannot go rook d7. Now, what if you go to, like, queen h7 or h8? Well, the king runs, right? And then you can check again. This looks pretty good, but after queen takes g7, this is probably okay. And this actually is okay, but the better move is to go to h8, and that's because after check, this is losing because of reasons, like bishop to h6, which is kind of hard to see because you're looking at moves like rook, but bishop h6 is good. But the coolest reason is after king to e8, you actually sack the queen. And I actually saw that you could sack the queen in some lines, but I just didn't see it in this most forcing line instead of rook d7. So if you take, there's a checkmate. If you go here, then you take here, and then you eat a lot of pawns. But if the king goes here, you go here. Check. But I didn't see that, so in the game I just took on f6 because I felt the safest. The idea is if the bishop takes, you checkmate, and you're threatening like a checkmate like this. So black basically either has to if you check me, I just run up, and then we got the same problem here. So you can't check it. You can't do it immediately, which means you have to take with the rook. And now, obviously, the only move is to check here. Now I already calculated this basically to the end, but so I played all these moves quickly, and so did he. But in another note, my opponent kind of looked kind of tired and was moving kind of quickly, especially these moves here. So it was kind of suspicious. Like maybe my opponent had like something else, something personal, something like personal events. I'm not gonna assume anything, but he just didn't feel like locked in. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I felt like during the game. So I take the rook, obviously. Now, oops, there's a skewer, but luckily I saw that I could check on d7, which is the only move. So I can also check here and try to win the knight, but this is less good. And the reason is there's a check. And then I just move the king, and here runs into a bunch of checks, and it's a draw. But if I check with the rook first, and then queen to d8, another only move, there's actually nothing that black can do. So the idea is to check with the queen. Queen's like a more powerful piece to check with, and then take on g7 with checkmate shortly after. So with like this kind of 2x3 box, non-invertible. Like 2x3, this like 2x3 box is really bad because it's really uncoordinated. Basically, no pieces protecting what it's supposed to protect. Rook can't protect. The knight, queen's like over here. So this is like top 5 best uncoordinated like pieces. So because the queen just took a rook, it's in like the corner. Like it can only go like this, except it's like blocked. And then this rook is like blocked by its own pieces too. It can only go forward and make a check. But we'll get to that. And this knight can't move, and this king can't move. Okay, so what happens if he checks? So I go here, and now he has no more checks. Oof. And he can't protect the knight. So like, if he tries to move up with the king, I can do this and eat the rook, but I also just take the knight, and wherever the king goes, I followed up with a fork and I eat the rook. So I eat the rook, and if he can try g5 also to like make room for the king, but it turns out that wherever he goes to, I just followed up with another skewer. So I'm also eating the rook. So there's going to be a pattern in all these lines, and it always, for some reason, it always ends in eating the rook. So if the queen tries to like preemptively guard g7, oh, that's just checkmate. So you can't do that. I think with the rook it's checkmate. So oof, if you push the pawn, it's checkmate. So like, my opponent was thinking and like trying to find something to do. So what I do is I get up from the board, grab some water, and then like sit in an unoccupied seat, and just go like this, and start calculating all the lines. Because like I'm already pretty sure it's winning, so I just like go away from the board, sit in like an empty chair, and I'm just like this. And then I realize, oh wait, what if he goes g5? So I go back. So what if he goes g5? Because okay, the king is like here, but like, can I really eat the rook? It's kind of like, yeah. And if I trade, like that's a queen end game. So like I run back to my board. I'm like, oof. What if he goes g5? And then I realize that I have this move g4, deflecting the king. So now I'm like, oh yay, it's winning. And then I go back to, like the empty seat, like this, look for my opponent to move, come back. He plays g5, check, check, g5, check, and he resigns. Okay, so I win game 5, yay! So what this means is I move to 3.5 out of 5, which means I'm going to get a really difficult game in the next round. So oof, but I don't really care if I lose that game. No foreshadowing. I'm already really happy with my tournament, so I'm just like, so I'm pretty happy with the tournament, even though it's not over. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.